Blog Talk Radio.
Control. Hello there, guys. I'm sorry. I apologize, everybody. Merle Finkhauser over in California, that's the guy that wrote, believe it or not, Wipeout. That was him just singing, and I've lost control of my board there for a while, and everything in the music department was off, but so was everything else. And I finally hit it on, and the on turned it off, so go figure. Anyway, welcome aboard, everybody. We're finally here. We're a little late, better late than never, I guess. So this is TJ Morris CT Radio with American Communication Online, and I have invited, Russ Brinegar, and he's going to tell us a little bit about him. He's an excellent author in our group. We have American Communication Online, and we're going to do ACO Invisible College tonight. And my co-host is Ken R. Johnston, Senior of New Mexico. But Ken, are you there? Can you say hi?
I can say hi. Hi, how are you doing?
Apologize to both you and Russ. Russ, are you there? Can you say hi real quick, and we'll get started?
Yeah, I'm here. I thought that was Jefferson Airplane.
Well, it's okay. We're here now. I lost 2 hours. I looked at 5:15, and we had Skype up with a guy calling in, a friend of mine from radio in Hiro over in UK, and then Tommy Hawksborough over in Hawaii. And somehow they were on Skype on my phones and on my computer, and I tried to get off, and I couldn't, and tied up my computer. So there's a lot to be said these days, folks, with where we're going with the communication, and that's what I'm in, is communications. Unlike some people, I'm not as brilliant as when I feel out of control. In other words, we have these contraptions or these things we use these days to communicate, and sometimes we just feel completely out of out of control. I don't know why everything was all connected in places in space and cyberspace, but I wasn't. So I was sitting here watching things happen, and it was funny, Russ and Ken were emailing me on Facebook or IMing me, and that would come through and knock my studio down again. I'm like, darn, so 2 or 3 times I was trying to pull it back up. So everything is connected these days, folks, electronically, whether we want them to be or not. So I see all these apps and things going on, but I'm absolutely amazed at how they connect themselves and will override what I was doing. So apparently I need a lot more education on how these things work. So let's get to the great meat of this ACO Invisible College that is definitely invisible, and that's ET, EBENS, NDE, OBE, Cosmos, Russ Brinegar, and I hope I'm saying that right, and Ken R. Johnston. Now, Russ, real quickly, let me just let Ken introduce himself. As is normal with most radio shows, is the host. I am Theresa J Morris, TJ Morris, better known in radio world, and Ken R. Johnston. So, Ken, introduce yourself, and then we'll get Russ to have his bio set up and ready to go, Russ. So, Ken, just give us a quick intro on who you are and why you're here with me.
Oh. I guess it's just because I'm very fortunate and very lucky to be here with you. Now, I was going to say, I was one of the 4 civilian astronauts on the Apollo program with the Grumman Corporation that built the lunar module. I tested the vacuum chamber and helped train the regular NASA astronauts how to fly. They got all the glory, and we got all the glory, but then it was, at the time, it was all to beat the Russians to the moon, and it was all exciting to do that. So now I'm with the team group that we're trying to get the truth out about what really was going on with the secret space program.
All right, that sounds great. Russ Brinegar. I'm going to put Ken's name right up here with mine and yours, TJ Morris and Ken. So, Russell Brinegar, is that your full name, Russell, and you want to tell us how much you want people to know about you tonight? Go ahead.
Well, it's Russell Scott Brinegar. My middle name's Scott, but you can call me Russ, and you actually pronounced my last name right, Brinegar. That's great. But
wow.
I was raised in the Space Coast in Florida. I was probably watching Ken Johnson's work on TV as a kid. I grew up with Apollo moon rockets. We used to go down to the Indian River and watch all the Saturn V moon rockets go off. There'd be about 1.5 million people collected in Titusville on the banks of the Indian River selling hot dogs and playing music, and my grandparents came in from Oklahoma, and we got to watch all the rockets go off, so that was great. But at the age of 17, I had taken all the preliminary testing in the Air Force, but I got discouraged because they selected me as an alternate because of my eyes. I'm wearing trifocals now, so they were right looking back on it. But I guess I got impatient as a young man, and I joined the Army as a gunner on an 81-millimeter mortar crew in the 101st Airborne Infantry. And I got out early after 2 years on a Chapter 5 expeditious discharge. It was sort of like the inability to adjust to military service. And I wandered the earth for about 3 years with no money, and that was one of the best times of my life. I just loved, I've stepped foot in about every 50 states, all the states. I really enjoyed out west and got a real good glimpse of the beautiful country we live in. But I eventually made it back to Indiana. My parents had moved back home when I went into the Army, so I went into sales for about a decade and a half, and I was just in my mid-30s, kind of tired of selling things to people, so I signed up for college at IU in Bloomington, Indiana, for about 4.5 years, and I graduated in 1997 with a bachelor's degree in occupational therapy. And my goal was to do that for 20 years as a second career and then retire, which I did after 20 years in 2017. So I'm retired now. I still go in once a week. It kind of keeps me grounded, and I enjoy meeting the residents. I work in long-term care. But for the first 54 years of my life, I was what you'd call a material reductionist, a hard science guy. I thought that consciousness was an epiphenomena of the brain. When your brain died, it was an eternity of unconsciousness. And then as far as UFOs go, I like them in science fiction, but I never really considered any reality to it. Everybody knows when the Condon report came out in 1969, I was, I think, 14 years old, and the scientific community kind of buried them under the rug for a good long time. And they're just now starting to take an interest in it with the free organization. The late Dr. Edgar Mitchell and Renario Hernandez started the free organization, and I'm in the middle of their first volume. I've been asked to write a chapter in their second volume coming out next year based on my experiences. On August the 18th in 2009, I was mowing my grass and had a heart attack and an anomalous near-death experience, which changed everything. So after that experience, which I can detail if you like, I was interested in everything involved with the paranormal and stumbled into the UFO field, and I couldn't read enough of it. got about 200 or 300 books under my belt, read about everything in the field, and at some point you reach that aha moment where you realize that, doggone it, this is real. There's a reality to this, and that makes life a lot more interesting. Trying to figure out. I was always one that said, you can't get here from there using conventional means, but my interest in hyperspace and quantum mechanics and the paranormal, which all ties in together, has prompted me to take a second look at how they're getting here possibly in different various manifestations. And I've really had a good time. I spoke for the first time, I believe I met Ken at the Stargate to the Cosmos last October, and I gave my first live presentation there about my book that I eventually wrote, published in 2016, called Overlords of the Singularity, The Manipulation of Humankind by Hidden UFO Intelligences and the Quest for Transcendence. And I posted that on Clifford Stone's Facebook page, and Janet Lesson got a hold of me with Aquarian Radio. So since then, I've just been having a blast meeting people in the field and talking on the radio and doing live presentations at various expos. Last October was my first one, and somebody I met there invited me to the Human Origins Conference next March in 2020, so I'll be doing another presentation there on UFOs and the paranormal and near-death experiences and whatnot. So I'm just having fun with it.
Wow, that's great. That's Richard and Linda Smith that do Human Origins Conference right there in Albuquerque, friends of ours, and been on this radio show and lives there in Albuquerque. And yes, we're talking with Ken R. Johnston Sr., former NASA Grumman, and did 3,000 hours in and out of different, I guess you'd say, space type stuff, and so we're going to talk about that with Russell Brinegar, and we've all three written books about ETs and alien UFO involvement, and so we're doing our best to form the ACO Club, Authors Book Club organization, and I hope to get their books on there. I've formed a new company, American Communications Online, where I'm going through Amazon, which I've been with for at least 12 years or more as an author, but I've decided to help some other friends of mine do these radio shows and now events, since I'm now available in 2019 to get organized. So Ken's helping me do that, and Russell, I had a great time with him presenting his book. I guess it was a couple of years ago. I know you'd just written your book, and then I didn't get to meet you, and I apologize, but my daughter's just passed, but she had cancer. So, Russ, I apologize for not meeting you in Albuquerque, but I did meet Ken 2017 over here in Mobile, and we're still talking about having some kind of get-together. So we're forever learning about trust, how we speak about information and communication to each other, folks, in our group of people. So if you will here, join with us every week. We're going to be building the future of our species with varying levels of consciousness and paranormal experiences. And so we're going to share some of our stories here. And there's some things going on right now in the levels of our human experience. And many people know about the ancient mystery schools and the new origins, or what we call ancient mysteries and new thought teachings. And Russ and Ken are both going through a period of their lives, and, along with me, where we've had out-of-body, near-death experiences. We're looking at past life regressions and how the EBENS worked on the planet. And if we truly feel like we're experiencing this matrix inside the reality that we're all creating. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the magical qualities of the human spirit and how we all first got into this. So Ken, you sort of got into the metaphysics, and then I want Russ to address that, because Russ sort of talked about it, and we will talk about ETs, EBENS, disclosure, because that's one of your favorite topics. And but real quick, Ken, can you have you had out-of-body or near-death experiences? I know you died at least once at 6 or something, but let's talk about each of our, we'll go around the table. Let's talk about our near-death experience, or dying and going to the other side. I know you were, 6 when you first passed, Ken?
Well, yeah, no, actually, the first thing that happened, let me give you a real quick little background. I was only 2 months old when my father died during World War II as a bomber pilot. At any rate, so at the age of 3, I had a cyst. I was born with a cyst over my left eye, and it had to be removed. And the doctor had